Many homes have ineffective attic ventilation, often due to a lack of adequate cool air intake. This can be attributed to a lack of soffits to install intake vents, or because siding or painting contractors who usually work in the soffit area often overlook intake venting. What's the easiest way to increase the flow of cool air into the attic? Cobra IntakePro from GAF. It's an easy-to-install rooftop intake vent that can be used on virtually all types of construction. Best of all, it keeps your roofers on the roof, where they're comfortable, instead of trying to do complicated carpentry work on soffits. GAF always recommends installing a balanced attic ventilation system consisting of both intake and exhaust ventilation. So, for your next roofing job, make sure to install a balanced, highly effective attic ventilation system consisting of both a Cobra IntakePro vent and a Cobra or MasterFlow exhaust vent. Let's take a closer look at the basic steps required to install Cobra IntakePro. Always wear the appropriate safety equipment such as safety glasses, gloves, hard hats, and fall restraint to avoid injury during installation. Cobra IntakePro should only be installed on roof slopes 412 and greater. In no case should the amount of exhaust ventilation exceed the amount of intake ventilation. Cobra IntakePro provides 9 square inches of NFA per lineal foot. It is important to first review the Cobra IntakePro installation instructions included on the product package and available on GAF.com and calculate your ventilation needs. With the ventilation requirements calculated, Cobra IntakePro can then be installed on the roof. Measure and mark 6 inches and 7 inches from the edge of the drip edge metal along the eave. At these points, snap 2 chalk lines parallel to the eave edge, creating a 1-inch wide area where the air slot will be cut. Make marks to end the air slot at least 12 inches from rakes, gable edges, sidewalls, and hip intersections, and at least 24 inches from valley intersections. Prior to cutting, ensure the saw depth is set properly to ensure only the roof deck is cut, avoiding any rafters or framing below. Then carefully cut the 1-inch wide air slot along the guide marks. After the air slots have been cut, flatten any attic insulation in the area of the air slot that could potentially block airflow, ensuring a minimum 1-inch open air pathway. Now, install a minimum 18-inch wide waterproof peel and stick leak barrier flush to the edge of the drip edge metal, such as GAF WeatherWatch or StormGuard leak barrier. With a sharp utility knife, remove the leak barrier material covering the air slot. Each roll of Cobra IntakePro comes pre-packaged with a roll of 1 3/4 coil nails and 2 pieces of end fabric. The fabric end cap is used to help block weather and insect infiltration at the vent's ends. GAF recommends installing Cobra IntakePro the entire width of the roof for optimal appearance. At the start of the vent run, position a fabric end cap overhanging halfway over the gable edge and parallel to the eave drip edge. Nail the fabric to the roof deck using 2 roofing nails, 1 low and 1 high. Position the lower edge of the vent flush to the drip edge metal with the graphic side up and the dashed nail line towards the eave. With the vent properly positioned, close the gable end of the vent with the fabric end cap by wrapping the fabric tightly over the vent, ensuring it completely closes the open end. Use 2 nails, 1 low and 1 high, to fasten the end cap fabric in place. Fasten the vent every 6 inches along the bottom pre-marked nail line. Nail the top every 12 inches, approximately 1.5 inches from the upslope edge of the vent. Do not place nails closer than 1 inch from any edge of the vent. Make sure any end seams along the run are butted tightly together when fastening. At valley and hip intersections, simply miter cut the vent and butt the seams tightly together when fastening. Complete the end of the vent run by wrapping and fastening with another piece of end cap fabric. For installations that intersect end walls, chimneys, or other structures, a taper termination can be used. Mark and cut a 45-degree V in the vent and discard the center piece. Rotate and fit the triangular piece into the angled cut to create a taper termination. The tapered end should be nearest the end wall or chimney, allowing for a smooth transition. Position a piece of end cap fabric on the deck, overhanging halfway over the eave edge and parallel to the end wall. Wrap the overhanging fabric back neatly over the vent and tapered end and fasten in place with 2 roofing nails. With the vent fastened to the deck, install peel and stick leak barrier on top of the vent, aligned flush with the bottom edge, up to a minimum of 24 inches in from the warm wall. This will help ensure a weather-tight installation. Complete the installation in a normal fashion with the starter course and field shingles, making sure the nails are not penetrating into the opening of the air slot. The starter course and first course of field shingles should overhang the front edge of Cobra IntakePro by 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch to provide a drip edge. Keep in mind, for proper ventilation, the starter strip and field shingles must not block the front face of the vent. In addition to eave edge installation, Cobra IntakePro can be used to provide intake on homes where there are often soffits with exposed rafter tails, blocked soffits with no access to the attic space, or where knee walls prevent airflow into the main attic compartment. In these cases, the vent will be installed upslope from the eave. Cobra IntakePro must always be installed within the bottom third of the attic compartment for proper airflow. Shingle up to the area selected to install Cobra IntakePro. Ensure the underlayment or peel and stick leak barrier below extends a minimum of 6 inches upslope from where the vent will be installed. For upslope installation, the air slot is measured 6 inches and 7 inches from the edge of the shingle exposure area. Once the slot is cut, position the vent graphics side up and flush with the shingle exposure area. Proceed with installing end fabric and fastening the vent as described previously. Install a minimum 36-inch wide peel and stick leak barrier on top of the vent, aligned flush with the bottom edge of the vent. The following courses of underlayment should overlap at least 3 inches over this peel and stick leak barrier. Proceed with installing the starter course and shingles as described previously. As you can see, the GAF Cobra IntakePro Rooftop Intake Vent provides a safe, great-looking solution for installing attic intake ventilation without the hassle of soffit alterations. For further product or installation information, please visit GAF.com or call GAF Technical Services at 1-800-ROOF-411.